being here today for my yoga for hips. You'll see before we get started, I have a few things here. I have a block, which is going to be very important. I have a pillow, which is even more important, and a strap. So you are going to need all of these. So what if you say I don't have a little pillow, but just a little hand towel or something like that. And I also have a few notes because doing these things in order matters. So if we start, bare feet is best. And let's just start in a nice little Sukhasana pose. I like to pay attention to what foot is in front. My right foot is in front for now. And then we'll just start with a few little Kundalini circles. These are a nice way to check in and see how everything's going with your hips, your low back, even perhaps your knees. So the first thing you want to notice is, hey, look how high my knees are off the floor. I hope yours are lower. And then making sure that as you move backwards, you know that you're paying attention, because I see there's no problem going forward with most people, but they resist this back, making of the C curve, opening that space between each vertebrae. So it's been a while since I've been in the gym teaching, as you know. Let's switch legs. And so what I thought, let's go the other direction. I thought, oh, let's take a nice rest, right? So for like 3 weeks I didn't do anything. And guess what? That old saying that I kind of preach to my class, if you rest, kind of happened to me. So that wasn't such a good idea. And I ended up with this nasty little pain when I walked on the side of my hips, and lo and behold, I, Donna Shore, now have trochanteric bursitis, which sounds like an old lady disease. But really it's actually very common. So what we're going to do now, we're going to start in child's pose, just checking in with the low back. So really making sure to check in with the feet, that they're unsickled if possible. Heels straight up and then extending. Reaching out with your fingertips, pulling shoulder blades down for Balasana. Big inhale up as we round the back. Exhale, let's just half chaturanga down. Come into a nice little easy sphinx. So you'll notice that we're stretching the front of our hips, but you may feel it in your back, because our psoas, P-S-O-A-S, psoas goes all the way, hi Grace, goes all the way through the pelvis and attaches on your spine. Let's press back again. Another child pose, Balasana. This time let's walk the hands over to the right, pushing hips to the left. Head is just hanging between your arms. And as we come back to center, then sweeping the hands to the left, pushing hips to the right. Again, head just hanging between the arms. Inhale up, bringing the hands back to center. Coming up, and then exhale again, half chaturanga down onto your belly. If you want, coming into another sphinx or right into an up dog. So on an up dog, heels straight up, shoulders down, quads off the mat, and it should feel really, really good. It should not be a strain. Now, instead of loading the heels of our hands, really want to shift some of that weight onto the knuckle pads, right under your knuckles. Knees come down. Let's press back into another child's pose. Inhale up, and let's come to a seated position. We're going to prepare for our first IT band with a strap. So if you'll notice, my strap is long. A towel isn't going to be enough probably, but you know, something, a rope, something. So what I like to do is actually tie it in a little knot so I don't have to worry too much. Because what we're going to do now, and you may want a pillow for your head, maybe not. But here's the thing, if you try to lay down and you have kyphosis and your head is going like this, get a pillow, okay? So we're going to start flat on our back. And what we're going to do, pull up the right leg, and now this isn't the goal. This is not the goal, okay? So we're going to pull it up right about here. I'm using my right hand because what we're going to do now is control that movement. Now you'll notice the hip wants to come up. We need the hip to be heavy because what we're trying to stretch is this whole area here, TFL, IT band. So what I'm going to do is support this so that I can really relax in it, and you may want to even grab your hip and pull it over. So hopefully you're going to feel that all around in here. Bringing it right back up. Let's do that again, so fully relax. Big inhale, bringing it up. Exhale, try to relax into that butt. Remember, hip is heavy. It's hard to relax when you're trying to keep something down. That body awareness will really help you if you can identify pressing this down while relaxing this. Pulling it back up. And let's do that one more time. So again, fully relaxed between, pulling the strap up, just till you feel a hamstring stretch perhaps. And then, heavy hip on the right side. Maybe you're able to just, I can't let the strap go. Okay, I have to fully support it. Pulling it back up. Let's just switch to the other side. You can keep that knot in there. So once again, I want you to check in with something for one of our next upcoming movements. Just try to cue in when you're laying here. Do you have a space in your back? We're going to want to think about that. So inhale, bringing the leg up. Exhale, controlling that movement. Okay. Could feel different on the side. Mine does. So again, we want to make that left hip heavy, keeping it down. So 30 seconds doesn't sound like a long time, but it really is a long time when you are doing an IT band stretch. Pulling it back up. At the bottom again, fully relaxed, fully relaxed. Inhale up. Exhale, controlling that movement, hip heavy. And you can play around with it, okay? If you pull it up and feel a little bit more, go for that. So this is not a time to, again, we're not looking for a shape. What we're looking for is a feeling. And bring it back up. And one thing I had learned when I was reading my somatics book, somatics, based on the Feldenkrais movements, is that when you get a cramped muscle, it's locked up, we think that, I used to think I could just stretch it out, but it doesn't usually work that way. So counterintuitively, you need to contract it really hard to try to re-encourage, relearn the relaxation response. Okay, so taking this out, we're now going to move right into a bridge. Okay, so feet not turned out, hip width apart, pressing with the full foot. Okay, so now maybe you even want to help. So we're not doing this for strength of the legs, right? Bridge can be a lot of things. It can be strength, it can be flexibility. We're working on hips today, so if I want to open this, I do want to squeeze my glutes, that's a part of it, but on the other hand, I want to get my hips as open as possible. So as long as I have no pressure on my neck, I can push my hips up, and then as I release, knees right back into the chest, Apanasana. Let's take a moment to rock side to side. Hi, Grace. Rocking up. So we are going to do our strap again. One thing is if you happen to have experienced trochanteric bursitis, the greater trochanter right here. So the pelvic bones here, the hip is this area where the femur goes into the pelvis. And what happens, if you're a runner or a cyclist, we like to do those things. When they're our thing, we like to do them. What it means is the bursa here, the IT band rubs and creates friction. It's very unfun, especially when you're in quarantine and you think, hey, I'd like to take my little dog for a walk, but you can't. So I'm very motivated to get this handled quickly. So my point is, if we're locked up here and we need to loosen this, every time we do movement, we're going to go back to this stretch, not 3 times, but 1 time in between. So if we pull it up now after we've done some work, right? Keeping this hip heavy. And I am feeling it in a new way this round. Every time we work and go deeper, you're going to feel it a little bit differently. If you're lucky and doing the work. Diligence pays off. So 30 seconds really is a magic number so that you can get past that muscle spindle response. Pulling this up, switching feet. Big inhale up. Exhale, controlling that movement. Left hip heavy. Again, taking a moment to play with that. The next one coming up is my very unfavorite. Clamshells are my very unfavorite. All right. So in preparing for clamshells, here's what you need to know. Bursitis of the hip, we have lots of bursa in our body, is caused primarily, mostly, by 2 things. Yes, tight IT band, but guess what? Gluteal weakness. Okay, so glute medius is really important here, and that's what we're going to do. Now, the reason we have the pillow is that another thing that can cause bursitis is like if you fall on it or laying on a hard surface. So the last thing we want to do is flame it up, right? So again, get a towel or a pillow, because what we want to do is arrange it. Really don't want to change our hip height that much, but we want to just arrange it so that that bursa has a little bit of cushion, okay? So with clamshells, this is going to be shocking because I put my bad leg on top, so I have almost no external rotation. Here's what we can't do. We can't let the hip go back because then you're not getting the right muscles. So sometimes, when it's really hard for me like it is now, I will lay up against a dresser or a couch to control that. But what you can do is put your hand on the hip and make sure that your feet are lined up, and you're going to raise that top leg without letting the hip go back. So you can see that I'm counting with my fingers, I have almost no external rotation on the left side, which is very disappointing, of course. This is not optimal. I'm confident that everyone doing this video is going to have more than me, because that's, of course, I always wait till I'm injured until I start working on, the small intrinsic muscles that I may have ignored, because I'm busy doing what I want to do, right? We're busy doing the workout that we like to do. Okay, so I'm already on rep number 8, and already I've got a bit more range of motion going, okay? So it's hard for, a fitness person to admit, hey, guess what? I've got weak glutes, because who wants to say that? We all want to have strong glutes. Okay, so there's 10 on that side. And you will really feel this. You will really feel it. And again, they're very unfun, but what you'll find is that they're pretty effective pretty quickly. So again, lining up your heels, you don't want to be forward like this. So think of your spine being straight and your feet lined up with your tailbone. You can relax down here if you want. So again, pressing on your hip, inhale to open. Hi, Grace. So I asked Steve, I said, honey, can you get down on the floor and show me your hip external rotation? It was no problem. His leg got up to here. So, as a reminder, that's almost like a challenge to me, like, hey, I've got to get the hip external rotation back. But you have to work within the boundaries of what your body is telling you on that day. So I may never have that kind of external rotation on my hip again, and that's okay. And because I haven't been counting, I'm going to assume that this is about 10. Okay, so pressing back up. Since we worked that, this is the perfect time. We're going to do one more set with the strap. Now here's another thing that I have not mentioned yet, but it is important. You'll notice I've been starting with the right foot. On everything, you need to mix that up too, because think about it. While I'm doing side one, the other side is stabilizing. We don't always want to have side two have stabilized for 30 seconds before we get to it. So I'm going to start with the left leg this time, bringing it up. Again, this is not the goal. If you do this, you're not going to even find the TFL. Okay, so right about here, and then bringing it over. So it does feel different after doing the clamshells. That's not a bad thing, that's a good thing. There's a lot more blood in there now. Keeping that left hip heavy. So if you have someone in your house that can do an assist and actually press your hip down, you'll feel it in your back then too. It's kind of a big deal. All right, side two. So again, making that right hip heavy. It's easy to just let it come up. And you know, it is different if you don't let it come up at all. You will feel it different. So if I really work on keeping that hip heavy, rather than pressing it down after it's popped up, it is a different sensation, mostly in the hamstrings. So now we did a lot with the hips, right? What we're going to do first, before we do anything else, we really want to get a little balance going on. So I'd like you to put your feet together, laying on your sacrum. Reaching down with your palms, shoulders down and back. And just closing your eyes. I want you to totally relax, soles of the feet together. Reclining butterfly. And if you look up, just look up. My knees are relatively level, even though they're high off the ground, so that's an exciting moment. All right. So now, placing your feet hip width apart and not too close, maybe here. Moving your arms away. We're going to do some windshield wipers laying on our back. And these almost always feel very good. And we're going to compare these to a windshield wiper laying on our stomachs. Very different. Very unforgiving. See, because I can move, my whole spine can move, everything can move here. Then coming back to center, just before we flip over onto our stomach, I want us to do an imprint. So remember we talked about this, if your back is already on the floor, that means you have less of a lumbar curve. Maybe that's a new development for you if you're older. Maybe not, but we want to imprint. So big inhale. Belly rising in on the exhale, pulling the navel in and attempting to imprint the small of your back into the mat. And so now is where you're breathing. Abdominal strength. Breathing is hard, it's going to be chest breathing. And release. All right. So flipping over onto our stomach. I'm going to come down a little bit. It makes it easier. So if we bend our knees and take our feet out, so here's our internal rotation, and then just touching the feet. So believe it or not, that's all the external rotation I have right now. So just doing a little test to see how symmetrical you are, okay? And then we're going to do one at a time. So extending the left leg. Right leg hopefully bent at 90 degrees. We'll see. So I can take it out and then take it in. I'm going to inhale as I take it out because that's the easy part for me. Exhale as I press it in. So there's my external rotation. So if I'm not careful, and I want you can maybe see my hips, I need to keep that right hip down. See what happens if it comes up? We're looking to avoid that because then again, we're not getting the right muscles. So I'm going to do this one more time on the right. And then I'm going to switch to the left. So, as I inhale, internal rotation, exhale, external rotation. That's very painful because I have almost no external rotation. But I want you to watch what I can do with my other foot. I can help it out a little bit. Okay, so if I do my feet together, what I can do is help that one leg a little bit with my external rotation. So when you get, maybe what you can do is cross like this, right foot in front, and then next time left foot in front. Okay, windshield wipers good. It's a very useful source of information. Let's press down for a child's pose after that. Big inhale up. Exhale, half chaturanga down onto our belly. So we're going to take a quad stretch now. And I want you to notice that it is different doing it one leg at a time. So first we're just going to bend that left leg and grab the foot. If you need a strap, you have one. So if you press down, maybe you're grabbing, I like to grab the top of my foot, making sure it's unsickled, pressing down. And this is radically different than doing both legs at the same time, which you'll see in just a minute. So let's do the right leg. Unilateral work almost always gives us a greater range of motion on that side than bilateral work. And release, child's pose. Big inhale up. Exhale, coming down onto your forearms. So we're going to do a forearm plank now. Core strength, super important in hip everything, hip work. If you prefer it on your hands, that's fine. I like the elbows. Maybe you need to go on your knees. So we're looking to pull the belly in now, belly compression. Okay, so as we breathe, keeping that compression. Breath changes based on what we're doing. So again, in plank, long, pressing through the heels, belly tight. Squeezing glutes, squeezing your belly and squeezing the glutes even harder. Squeezing your quads. Everything is tight, dynamic tension. And as we release, knees come down, child's pose, balasana. So, the reason for the block is the bridge that I love to do for the hip opening. So, you have 3 sides to work with. Yes, I know the block has 4 sides, but we have the least tall side, second least tall side, and then the third tall side. So when we approach our bridge, maybe this is where you are today. Side 2 is going to be right here. Side 3, right here. Now, this should feel good. I have everything relaxed here. Yeah, I know, it's kind of squishy. Okay, yeah, it's relaxed. Hamstring, everything should be relaxed. If this is too much, take a lower side. If you want to crawl out with the right foot now, so I will remind you, like I remind my class, we don't pick up our foot here. We need to keep that foot down. There's no foot in the air. If you're able to press through the heel, straightening out that right leg. Hello, psoas. It's awesome. So again, we would not get this bilaterally. If we did them both at the same time, would not have this effect. If you want to test that out, go ahead and go with staff pose, Dandasana. Try both feet out, then just one foot. Huge range of motion difference, unless you're like a Cirque du Soleil person. So dragging that right heel back in, crawling out, or just extending that left leg, pressing out through the heel. Bringing that left foot in, lifting up the block and removing it. One of the classic stretches for any hip work is the figure four, because it does so much. So let's go for that right now. Let's take the right ankle, place it on the left leg, not up on the kneecap, above the kneecap. Now we want to make sure our hips stay square, not roll off to the side. And then when you have that figure four, picking up the left leg, and I want you to try to do the imprint that we learned before right here. So pulling the navel in. When we do that compression, that changes the breath, moves it up to the chest. So figure four, I actually, pulling it in is nice. I actually like to straighten this leg up. I feel like I get a lot more there. Maybe taking the right hand, opening the knee. This is my good side, so I can do this. And then coming down, other side. So my hip just wants to go like this, have to control that movement, picking up that right leg. See how I'm controlling it here? Because I know I'm crooked, so I'm controlling it right away. So this is a lot different on this side for me. Straighten out the leg, it's even more different, but good. Pressing out on the inner part of the left knee. And coming out. Once again, knees falling out to the sides. Together and rocking up to a seated position. So the last one that we're going to do, we have two different kind of leg raises. If you have been working out a lot, it is very possible, like it is for me, that you're going to need leg weights to really feel it. So we're going to do them today without it. But now that I'm in my PT phase, I have 10-pound leg weights on each side and I'm doing it. Okay, but you want to do it without them to make sure that wherever that break in your chain is, whatever's weak, whatever's irritated, let that come up to speed and get strong with everything else before you add the leg weights. Okay, so if you think, oh, these are so fluffy, they are, but maybe not at first. Okay, so I'm going to lay on my back and I'm going to make sure that this is where the imprint matters. I'm going to really press in. I'm going to keep that. Okay? Keeping my right quad is completely contracted, as tight as I can make it. So I'm going to inhale up. Just to this matches leg. Exhale down. I said that wrong. Exhale so we come up. So here's the thing. The imprint is the hardest part. I'm counting with my fingers, so I'll do the same amount. The imprint is the hardest part. Keeping this imprinted the whole time. So again, the goal is not to get the leg higher than this. There's a reason we're doing it at this height. Okay? So it is harder with a 10-pound ankle weight. Keeping the imprint, belly pulled in. That is probably the hardest part. Quad as tight as you can make it. 2 more on this side. Okay? So after the video's done, I'm gonna throw on the leg weights and I'm gonna do them. Okay, other side. So again, imprint. Exhale as we lift. Inhale down, counting with my fingers to make sure we're doing the same. So this is my bad side, and I can tell you that it's harder to imprint on this side. Doing unilateral work, it is definitely hard. So the core is most definitely involved with everything that's going on in the hips and all the movement that goes with them. Okay, the imprint's super hard right now. Have 4 more. All right. So, laying on our side. This is again where you might want to say, hey,